Today we're going to talk about Trump's threats to the legal community and the implications for the rest of us. And I've got two interviews. I speak with Congressman Jamie Raskin about Trump targeting him by trying to withdraw Biden's pardons for all members of the January 6th committee. And I sit down with Pod Save America's John Lovett to discuss Elon playing the victim over vandalism of Teslas. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen, and you're watching No Lie. So Trump is doing something right now that he knows is going to fly under the radar, but will have massive implications. He has begun extorting law firms, wherein he threatens lawyers' ability to do work with the government, intimidates their clientele, risks their reputation, unless those law firms decide to bend the knee and do what a firm called Paul Weiss opted to do, which is to offer him $40 million in legal services to conservative causes that Trump approves of. This is an extortion racket, and of course, because the cop on this beat is the DOJ, under Pam Bondi, it'll never be investigated, meaning that Trump basically just gets to get away with it. But Paul Weiss wasn't without options here. Donald Trump also attacked a firm called Perkins Coie, which opted not to bend the knee and instead sued Trump in court. They decided to put their values ahead of a strong man's desire to force his opponents into submission. And I bring this up for a specific reason. It's not necessarily to pick on Paul Weiss. Paul Weiss doesn't care what some YouTuber thinks about them, and I'm sure that they've heard much worse from their own clients who actually pay their bills, and that probably stings a hell of a lot more than anything I can say. But I bring this up because this isn't about just one law firm. It is about the lesson that Trump learns when he gets one big law firm to capitulate, because then it makes it impossible for the rest of the law firms to put up a unified front and actually fight back and win. If Trump shows that he owns one law firm as big as Paul Weiss, then what hope do the rest of them have? The same way that if Trump can show that he owns Zuckerberg at Meta or Shu at TikTok, then the rest of the social media platforms know that there will be no unified front in tech companies against him. If Trump can show that he owns Bezos' Washington Post or the LA Times, there will be no unified front in newspapers against him. If Trump can show that he owns ABC News or CBS by getting them to settle frivolous lawsuits, then there will be no unified front in the media against him. There is a reason that Trump goes after the big fish in all of these sectors. It's because once he topples one or two, then it destroys this illusion that there will be collective action against him. It sends the message that it's no use standing up to him because eventually these entities, these companies, these people will just be going up against the President of the United States and the rest of the U.S. government, and they will be doing it, importantly, with no support. But this highlights the issue of our time, the thing that we need most and that we're in the shortest supply of. And it's not the usual question of do we have to tack left like Bernie Sanders or tack right like Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez. It's not about where you land on the ideological spectrum that people are focused on right now. It is whether you are willing to show some fight. We've watched big tech and big media and big law all bend the knee. None of them have figured out the advantage of standing tall side by side. None of them have prioritized their integrity over the whims of a despot. None of them have showed a willingness to actually fight. And we watched the Democrats last week, after months of promising to show up and fight and never back down, do exactly that with the continuing resolution. We are in desperate need of some courage, of some spine. And if the media won't do it, if the tech companies won't do it, if the lawyers won't do it, if the elected officials won't do it, then it's got to be incumbent on all of us, incumbent on regular people to take the lead. That means showing up at these town halls where there are town halls. It means showing up to elected officials' offices. It means calling. It means taking to the streets. I promise you that there is one thing that will move every single person that we've been talking about. That'll move the government, businesses, the media, and that is when populations rise up. They will operate with a sense of impunity until it becomes clear that there will be no impunity. So if there's an opportunity to show up, take advantage of it. If there are town halls or protests or marches, go to them. I know that with all this shit bearing down on all of us, the last thing that we feel is empowered, but I guarantee you that you all showing up en masse as soon as there's an opportunity is the single most important tool that we have. It has the power to topple dictatorships and autocracies, and it has. And that includes the burgeoning one right here in the United States. So if no one is going to come save us, recognize that we're going to have to do it ourselves. Next up are previews of my interviews with Jamie Raskin and John Lovett. Just a quick reminder, on one video per week, my video podcast, this show right here, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, I have sponsors. So here's a quick word from some sponsors, and then my interviews with Jamie Raskin and John Lovett. No Lie is sponsored by Acorns. They say money can't buy happiness. That might be true, but money sure can make you feel a lot of other things, like stressed and guilty and overwhelmed. That's because when you're not in control of your money can control you. Acorns is a financial wellness app that helps you take control of your money with simple tools that make it easy to start saving and investing for your future. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that matches you and your money goals. You don't need to be rich. Acorn lets you get started with just the spare money that you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. Basically, Acorns does the hard part so that you can give your money a chance to grow. And look, especially at a moment right now where things do seem so tenuous, having control where we can get it is especially important. So if you're ready to take control of your money, sign up now and join the over 14 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $25 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/BTC or download the Acorns app to get started. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 2 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/BTC. No Lie is sponsored by BetterHelp. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. With online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with everything from anxiety to everyday stress. I myself have gone to therapy. It has helped me immensely, and I highly recommend that everybody else do the same. And for BetterHelp, with over 30,000 therapists, they are the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. It's convenient, too. You can join a session with the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, switch therapists at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/nolie to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/nolie. Obviously, some big news that was just revealed by Donald Trump is this idea that he is making null and void any pardons that were granted by Joe Biden to members of the January 6th committee. Obviously, you sit on this committee. So can I have your reaction to both the legality and just in general, him deciding to try and attack members of the January 6th committee?
Well, one president cannot revoke or veto another president's pardon. So that simply doesn't exist. He's complaining that Biden used an auto pen, although there's no evidence for the fact that he used an auto pen. In any event, the Constitution doesn't say you can't use an auto pen.
Yeah.
Because the president has the power to pardon and commute sentences. So let's hope that this is a passing fancy and just a little drizzle in the summertime, and that he doesn't press it too hard. Look, we know he was running around threatening to prosecute Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson, the chair of our committee and the vice chair of our committee. And that's why this general pardon was issued to members of the committee. But for all intents and purposes, it's a valid legal pardon. And that is within the unilateral power of the president. If not, a lot of people would be challenging the idea that he could pardon actual insurrectionists who he incited to try to overthrow an election to keep him in office.
Does the fact that he's trying to do this, the legality notwithstanding, signal that it is indeed his desire to go after his political opponents who sat on the January 6th committee?
Oh, well, there's no doubt about that. I mean, he's been tweeting against us and vilifying us, ever since the bipartisan January 6th Select Committee, which he calls the Unselect Committee, has been in business. But here's the thing, Brian, they haven't laid a glove on a single factual finding or determination that we made in the report of the bipartisan Select Committee. They set up a whole subcommittee on the House Administration Committee under Congressman Loudermilk to try to go after Liz Cheney and to try to find stuff wrong. They couldn't find anything. They literally have not contradicted a single factual statement. Now, they would like to come up with some alternative story that, it wasn't really the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and the mobs that were incited by Donald Trump. It was Antifa. They would love to be able to say it was really the FBI that did it. But all of that is nonsense, and it's been debunked by the factual record. And we interviewed more than 1,000 people, and we looked at more than 1 million pages worth of documents, and we had all of these interviews, and everything is scrupulously documented in the report, and they just haven't touched any of the facts of it because we were looking for the truth on a bipartisan basis, and that's what we did.
There's been a lot of debate lately about whether or not we're in a constitutional crisis. And a lot of legal experts are pointing to the fact that, okay, we're not technically in a constitutional crisis until there has been a court order that wasn't followed. It was appealed up to an appeals court. It was appealed up to the Supreme Court. And then if the Supreme Court issues a ruling that runs counter to what the administration wants to do, and yet the administration barrels ahead anyway, that's technically a constitutional crisis. And then you have, broad swath of the rest of the base, of which I would probably include myself, where what we're seeing right now is so obviously counter to everything the Constitution says and so clearly a crisis. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on this as this, parsing of words and definitions kind of plays itself out.
I think it's so fucking stupid.
As you recoil.
I felt this long before. I feel like the question, are we in a constitutional crisis, is the wrong question to be asking. First of all, I think it's a distinction without a difference.
Right.
Like, we're in a big crisis.
Yeah.
I think you can just take the word constitutional and make it mean big.
Yeah.
Are we in a big crisis? Absolutely. There's no moment at which first of all, Donald Trump and the people around him are smart enough to know that you don't just on a random day decide to stop following brazenly a constitutionally valid order from a judge. You slowly erode those protections. Already, we have Donald Trump deporting people to El Salvador without so much as a hearing. A judge says, hold on a second. The Trump administration says, too late, the plane was already over international waters. The president of El Salvador says, oopsie. The Secretary of State doesn't defend an American judge, doesn't offend the American system, but just simply reposts it. He's on the side of El Salvador's president. You have other examples of the administration claiming, oh, we just did it. You said it in court, but we didn't see it in writing, or it happened too late. They're in some cases saying that they don't have to follow rulings. In other cases saying they are following them, but it was just too late. In others saying that the judges have no right to rule on these issues. There's not going to be a bright line that we cross and we say, now we're in the constitutional crisis. We are slowly getting into a deeper and deeper crisis in which the President of the United States, who is at root instinctively an authoritarian, is slowly and deliberately eroding the guardrails that protect us from those abuses. Does that mean we're in a constitutional crisis or just a big fucking crisis? I don't know. I don't care.
And I think that's such a good point, that I think everybody's waiting for the day that like we switch from a democracy into an autocracy. But like it is inherently the fact that they are normalizing a lot of what we're seeing right now, that the Overton window is shifting day by day, that expressly gets us to the point where we won't even notice that switch as it's happening. Like we've seen it even with Elon has been peppering this idea of impeaching judges whose rulings don't comport with his political ideology. And so rather than just, abide by the law, rather than just follow the regular judicial process, maybe appeal a ruling that you don't like, he's like, get rid of the judges. Just go right to the root and just eliminate people who exist in positions of power that don't redound to my political, financial, or personal benefit. To watch the full interviews with Jamie Raskin and John Lovett, click the thumbnails right here on the screen or check out the interviews playlist on my YouTube channel. You can also click the link on the screen to listen to the audio version of this episode, and I would highly recommend you subscribe. And of course, to see more of my content, the subscribe button's on the screen as well.